You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 334, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com. You can also find me on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Facebook at 5cardguys. Co-hosting with me today, as usual, is Hyung, and you can find him at Cho Hyung on IG and on YouTube as well. All right, let's get right into it. Off the top today, on the day we're recording this episode, December 4th, Topps Chrome Basketball first day issue boxes drops. So I guess their first day issue is kind of like first off the line equivalent to what Panini used to do. So Topps Chrome Basketball first day issue drops on December 4th. But the way they're selling this product is via Dutch auction. And if you're unfamiliar with how Dutch auctions work, it's kind of the reverse of how regular auctions work. So just to explain briefly, you start off with the max bid number, which in this case is $3,500, which is high. And then that price decreases in regular intervals, 3 minutes in this case for the Topps Chrome Basketball boxes. The catch is, as the price drops, you can buy it whenever or whatever price you're comfortable at, but the Dutch auction stops when all the boxes are sold. So the trick is determining what's the lowest price point that you can buy these boxes before it sells out. And of course, to guarantee you get one, you can always bid a bit higher, as it starts at 3,500. So definitely pros and cons with Dutch auctions. Hyung, I want to ask you, are you a fan of Dutch auctions, and have you participated in one before?
Man, I think it's a loaded question because I think it all depends on what perspective you're in. So I'll unwrap it, I guess, from a marketplace and hobbyist perspective.
Okay.
I think there are some benefits to it because if you think about it, you're kind of erasing the guessing game of what true market value is. So I guess volatility wouldn't be as crazy because you have a truer market, what the current market is willing to pay. Whereas before, or if you're just doing a typical auction or even a release, right? Yeah. It would be based on hype, volatility, and then, people don't know what it's worth really, right? So I think it gives it a baseline of, some type of control on the volatility. But this particular product, I think, works really well. I don't like the Dutch auction in every single product. I think it has to be like rare releases. It has to be releases like this. I think if you think about, let's just think about the Topps Chrome product basketball. It's the first year. Everybody's anticipating it. They're blowing it up like it's the biggest thing. So how many people are going to hold these boxes? Right? And you look in the future, 10, even take what's the first year of Prism? 2012. It was Prism. So it's like, what if there was a first off the line, Prism hobby box, what would that be worth today? Right? So it's stuff like, I could see why, they use this, Dutch auction style in this product case for this. So I think it works really well because some people might be like, you know what, I'm willing to overpay on this, or at least current market price. I'll snag a box at 2,500 and I'll sit on it because, I think it's $25,000 one day, whatever it might be, right? Whatever, whoever's participating, I don't know their thought process, but everybody purchases for different. From the different perspective, I think it's genius for fanatics because one, they just infiltrated the secondary marketplace. So essentially they're not eliminating flippers because you could flip these still after the Dutch auction, but
Sure.
it becomes a lot more difficult than, let's just say these were released like the regular Topps Chrome product. We've seen what happened, sold out in seconds. So it's like, who's making this money? Right? It's flippers, right?
Yeah.
So it's a way that Fanatics is like, you know what? We know that, the secondary marketplace, and they're, PSA is kind of doing it with, we talk about this all the time about upcharges. It's a similar thing. It's like, how do these companies now infiltrate the secondary market without necessarily raising an eyebrow that they're doing it? But I think what's more important in this case for Fanatics, where they win on this, is data.
What do you mean?
Is collecting data, buying habits of the actual hobby. So if you think about distribution, so hobby stores or whatever, you don't get data from customer behavior, but you're getting all the data from an internal standpoint of what works, what doesn't work, right? How they could now use AI to use this data and buying behaviors, right? And I think it's important that they don't do this for everything, right? And there's like I said, it goes back to what's that sweet spot of a product that everybody likes, Topps Chrome, right? Yep. Where people are willing to participate in this, right? To the normal hobbyist, Fanatics is trying to make money. It's so ridiculous. Hobby boxes are so expensive. But like I said, it's all perspective of where you see it. But I think overall, Fanatics is winning in on this. On the long term, I could see this happening more often because of the upside it has just from the data collecting standpoint. People would pay lots of money for this data, right? And I could foresee a future of, what Fanatics is trying to do essentially is the Amazon of sports cards.
Yeah, no, well said. And I think what you said about having the right perspective, or not even the right perspective, but it depends on the perspective.
Yes.
On how you see the product launch. And like you said, the Topps Chrome basketball first day issues, it's only going to be for people that really believe in the product, I think, especially for the long term.
Right.
So I could see the Dutch auction, 3,500 is a high number, but how much lower will it become? It also depends on how much they're printing, right? So I don't know how many first day issue boxes they're going to have. If they print a lot, it's going to go lower and lower because there's this volume. But if it's really limited, I don't think it's going to, get down that low. So that's the X factor too.
Yeah. And I think that's key. I think Topps is smart enough to realize you can't do Dutch auctions on, products that are not demanded, right? So, and the way you create demand is limited supply. And to me, it's like they would literally shoot themselves in the foot if they did this first off the line release. First off the line is very rare. It's first off the line. Shouldn't be mass produced. So for me, I expect it to be very limited, and I expect prices to still be pretty close to that 3,500, as crazy as that is, because it creates a lot of fear in people where they feel like they're going to lose out if, they're too low on their perspective. Right. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the actual number is or what the low number is. But I agree. If it's really limited, as first day issue boxes should be, then I don't think it's going to drop even below 2,000. Maybe we'll see. I might be completely wrong. But yeah, I think some people that are upset about it is they think about it as a regular hobby box. Right. And you can't think about it that way. With the mass produced hobby box, I agree. You shouldn't do a Dutch auction. You should just put the number, and if you can afford to buy one of those, then you got to have a little bit of luck too, right? Like those sold out pretty quickly. Yeah. So I get it. I get the frustration either way, but it's better than you having zero shot at a Dutch auction where you're going to have buyers that are willing to pay more than you are. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be priced out anyways.
I think you have the perfect marriage. Like Fanatics has the perfect marriage, because what happened on release day, because I know all of you guys tried buying, boxes, all of us, but it's like sold out. So the demand is crazy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important to still keep release prices and not abuse the Dutch auction, because now they're using this as complement to the release, because everybody who's tried to buy Topps Chrome, they know now this, this first off the line is available, and we all have a perception of high end right off the bat.
Sure.
This is not the same as the Topps Chrome that just released, which is high end because the secondary prices are ridiculous. If secondary jumbo boxes or hobby boxes are going for thousands, let's just say, what's this worth?
Yeah. The case of this would be tens of thousands for sure.
So let me just ask you a question, Clark. Right now, what would you commit to? Not saying that you're going to buy it, but what would you be like, you know what? I think I would be in at 2,500 or 2,000.
I think 2,000's the number for me.
Yeah. I would say I would say between 2,000 and 2,500. I think it would be a solid investment still.
Yeah. If it came down to 2,000 somewhere available, I'm like, oh, I would get greedy. Yeah, I get greedy, but at the same time, exactly. At that number, I'd be okay holding it long term.
Yeah, and I think it's better than potentially a slab, of a player, right? If you think about it, because, it's the first release of Topps Chrome. And obviously the players have to pan out. That's the scary part. But I mean, you got a pretty strong class. You
got your first licensed auto of Wemby. That's gonna hold value as long as Wemby does what he does. And Cooper Flag seems to be a lock. So yeah, right there already, you can have a bit of confidence moving forward, right?
Interesting.
So, yeah, if you're a listener of the podcast and you're intending to bid on the Dutch auction, let us know. I'm curious to see if you were successful or not. But Dutch auctions work for some. I don't know. Have you ever participated in one?
No, I have never participated in one. But yeah, I'm not against it for sure. I would be interested. Yeah.
It's an interesting format. The only time I participated in Dutch auction was when I bought my VFriends NFT, and when the NFT craze was happening and the demand was high, because especially around NFTs at that time, they were all flippers. So again, to deter flippers, you like to have the true collectors have the chance or the opportunity to buy it, and that's when Dutch auctions work well.
Right. And
I got my VFriends. And the thing is supply as well, right? So I think when VFriends launched, there was, I think a limited supply of, limited quote unquote is about 10,000, right? So it actually went down to the lowest price.
Okay.
Like I waited and so, you kind of have to experiment, right? Because the demand, I guess, wasn't as high as expected.
Right.
And so I was lucky to get it at the lowest bid. I'm like, if it hits the bottom, sure. And then, I was able to get one, but it's kind of nerve wracking. Every time it increases down, you're like, oh, is it going to sell out? That's the one worry. It's like, oh, am I getting too greedy? Or, I don't want to overpay as well.
Did you do well on that, would you say, at that price?
Oh, so, I'm a big Gary Vee fan. Yeah. So the VFriends cost me, $1,500 at its low point USD. And I've gotten over 10,000 value already.
Oh, wow. There you go.
With the drops, with all the, with all the things he does with, the manga super stickers. Right. Gary Vee's into collectibles big time. So even, all those drops, if you have a VFriends Series 1 NFT, I've gotten 50% off these products. So, the money I'm saving just by buying some of these products. So the
utility was there, right?
Utility's there. It's still there for a lot of things.
Right.
So for me, I lucked out with that particular NFT, but yeah.
So that's good to note because, I haven't participated in Dutch auction, but there you have it. Like at the time, 1,500 might sound crazy too, right? To be committing to something like that. But if you look at it at long-term value, there might be a lot of value. Usually Dutch auctions come with that because like I said, you have an opportunity if you really truly believe in the product to purchase something very rare. And to me, to some, it might be risky, but I think in this case in particular, it's not a bad move if you are participating.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect way to end this segment. Yeah. With Dutch auctions, if you believe in something long term, whether it's an NFT or whether it's a Topps Chrome basketball first day issue box, I think it's a great format and an opportunity for you to grab one if you really believed in it. All right, let's move on to hobby headlines. Okay, so I saw a recent social media post by We the Hobby, which is a card shop. There are also breakers. I believe they're based in Rochester. And they posted 5 athletes whose card values are just going up and up, okay? And I don't think any of them will be a surprise to anyone in the hobby, but I thought what might be helpful to discuss right now is, which players would we still want to invest in even as their card market values are relatively high? And which ones do you think you'd like to wait and buy, hoping for a dip later on, whether it's next season or a couple years from now even? So let's get the easy one out of the way because we talk about him quite a bit on this pod. I think you know who it is. His name is Shohei Ohtani. All right. And they in the social media post, they posted like 2-3 cards of each player just as an example of what their values are. And when I look at Ohtani, even his Topps Heritage, base non-auto card, and if you look at it from September of this year to where it is now, so just a few months, it's up 112%.
Crazy.
Right? So even his base stuff, and we talked about it on the pod too, those base rookie non-auto cards are going for insane prices. Ohtani, again, we're going to ask this. Are you looking to buy even at the prices they are at now?
I think with Ohtani, it gets tricky because, and I'll say this as a blanket statement for whatever 5 players you list.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily trajectory of career. I think that's a standard for any superstar. Anybody whose value is going to increase in the future, you have to have that superstardom in you.
Sure.
So that's kind of given. I think you got to look at it from the point of where your buy-in is. So if you look at the Ohtani market, I would say his main cards are overpriced in general. And then if you were to audit kind of like the lower end stuff, you would see that, hey, those values didn't necessarily follow the really big sales that, the normal, the Bowman Chromes of the world kind of got. Yeah. So I think it all depends on the type of card because I think the market catches up eventually. And I think that's what we're seeing with, stuff like Topps Heritage. It's like maybe it was really cheap relative to all his other cards. And when we see those increases like crazy, it's a matter of, well, Ohtani's Ohtani. There's no question that he's a superstar, but where is the opportunity? Is the best opportunity in a Bowman Chrome that already increased 1,000%, or is the better opportunity in a Topps Heritage where you feel like the buy is super low? So that's the way I would see it, where Ohtani's still a buy on certain cards, right?
Yeah.
And I could be wrong on this, but I don't see the market continuing, at least from a base card standpoint. Like some of his base Bowman Chromes are like crazy, like thousands, right? Like just his base Bowman Chrome batting PSA 10. I don't know if it could sustain that. Maybe it can. Maybe the demand's high enough, but that's why you go back to rare cards. I rather a numbered Topps paper card where the value is there. It might be $5,000. It might be $10,000, but I think it's still cheap relative to his other cards. And that's where I would be more specific with Ohtani in this case, where it has to be a card by card basis.
Yeah, no, I think it's true for all players, like you're saying. And I guess to make it easier for the other players, a lot of the cards that this social media post is showing on Instagram is the lower end cards, like just their base cards, right? So obviously the higher end cards, I'm with you. If you can afford it for a player like Ohtani, I think that's just going to increase its value because the scarcity is there with the numbered cards and the autograph cards. But obviously it's costs a lot just to get one right now. And so I think because of that, other people are looking to the lower end cards to buy it, and the demand is there. But to your point, I don't see how much more sustainable it is. So I guess as we go through the other players, just in general with their lower to mid end cards, would you buy right now? Yeah. And timing is everything too. So that's kind of part of this discussion. But I'm with you with Ohtani.
Yeah, Ohtani, I would be like, I'd be I'm always dabbling into Otani. It's the Otani effect, you know. It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
No, for sure. Otani's a unicorn in baseball and in the hobby. So,
Yeah.
All right, next guy who finally seems to be getting the respect he deserves, and we've been biased because we're Canadian, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, car prices are finally going up. Oklahoma Thunder killing it again this season. They're the real deal, and SGA is at the center of it. So even his Donruss Optic base and his PSA 10, all those base rookies are doubling in price since the beginning of the season.
Right.
So SGA, do you think you missed the boat on him if you didn't buy, or
I think there's ways.
Still a good time?
I think with SGA, like what he's doing is ridiculous. Like he's putting 30, 35 points a game a night. He's winning, and relatively to where Luka prices were, he was super cheap. And that's where we always have to look at, Shai's prices is he was always underpriced, and now the market's just catching up. So these big jumps you see is not because the market's hot. It's more a direct reflection of, look at what Shai's doing day in and day out for the last 3-4 years, and he's winning. He's on a winning team. People bought into him completely. And they look at his prices and we've seen Shai's prices since like 2018, 2019 too, where we've been saying Shai's price is too cheap. But he was only averaging 20, 22 points a game when we were saying that because he was still 21, 22 years old. And I think with him, we're just seeing a market correction in the other way. Usually we see it on the flip side where the market correction goes down, but I think his base stuff was way too cheap to begin with. And we're seeing a slow, steady climb constantly. And with Shai, yes, I'm open to buying him long term at this point, and I'm looking at value on maybe it's select, Panini Select, maybe it's the secondary brands, even not Optic. It's like I think Optic is really hyped that year. A lot of Luka cards are big. A lot of, even Josh Allen football. Optics are, and whereas Select is kind of like under the radar. So I think there's buying opportunity with Shai for sure. I
agree. I think exactly to what you're saying, the uptick is the realization how good SGA is and how good the Oklahoma Thunder are right now. I was just looking at their standings. They're 21 wins, 1 loss this season.
Crazy.
which is incredible. And like you're saying, I think it is a market correction the other way, but I think there's still room for growth because the team is not going to be just good this year. They're set up to be good the next 3 years because the core is going to be together for that long.
And the crazy thing, Clark, is they're doing this in the Western Conference, which is like crazy if you see like this year, even with San Antonio, with Houston, with all these teams that are just, and you got, Golden State, sitting at 500 in the Western Conference, which is insane. So for Oklahoma City to do that, like in the Western Conference, and Shai being that pillar of that, to me it says a lot.
I agree, and I'll say this: I saw another Instagram post where the knock on SGA is he plays boring, he gets a lot of points off foul at the foul line. But then they show this mirror kind of montage of him and Kobe. Like they play the exact same way. And, their attitude towards the game is very similar. They're very serious when they're playing.
For sure.
And so, I mean, if you believe that's his knock, I think that's a buying opportunity too.
That's just called a scorer. He's just a scorer, right? Kobe was a scorer. Jordan was a scorer, right? And to me, it's like, that's who he is. He just scores points, right? Any way. And to me, that's the resemblance of Kobe. Kobe was the same way. He wasn't a guy that always created. He was a scorer.
Yeah, agree. All right. You kind of mentioned him in passing, and speaking of Western Conference teams, the LA Lakers are also doing really well. Crazy. And it's primarily because of Luka Doncic, because LeBron's been injured for most of the season. But Doncic, he didn't really dip, but he definitely plateaued over the last couple of years because, we did see a spike initially, especially in his rookie season during the COVID hype. A lot of spikes there, kind of corrected slightly, and then it just plateaued. Now that he's with the Lakers. Now that he's the key guy on a historic team like the Lakers, you're beginning to see that bump go up again. So, what are you doing with Luka Doncic cards?
I really like where Luka's at in LA. I think it's very positive for his market. I think Luka's showing the world that, he's kind of like the next torchbearer because, he's on look at that LA team. It's, even Austin Reeves, LeBron James, being that, I guess the older veteran to be able to show that, hey, he's the guy now. Luka's the guy. He's scoring 35 points a game for the biggest kind of branded team, the LA Lakers. To me, that's the spotlight you want. That's like the New York Yankees that everybody, that brand that everybody wants to be a part of and the value. And I think before Luka's price was so high and we're all part of it, whether we participated, I know you participated a bit on the Silver Prism, but like this is where we're getting the intel that, even the base Otanis might not be sustainable because of the supply or whatever it may be. We've seen it with the Luka market. We've seen the Luka market so hyped at one point, and we've seen it crash. So for me, it's like, yeah, it might not have peaked, but it corrected, and now it's checking, really. It's sitting sideways because it was so high, but I still think Luka is Luka. I still believe in him long term. And even more than when he was in Dallas now, because if I was all in on Luka when he was in Dallas, I'm 2 times more all in on Luka because he's right. On LA and he's scoring 35 a game, right? So for me, it's like, hey, it might be a good time to buy Luka, and maybe it's not like right now, but it could be mid-season. It could be, where times where, Luka prices kind of retract a bit. Maybe he's injured for a few games or whatever it is. That's when it might be the best time, or you wait for the off season again.
Yeah, unless the Lakers really go deep in the playoff run, then you might not have the opportunity this year. But I think the rated rookie, his Donruss Optic base again, raw's gone up from the beginning of the season to where it is now about 72%. So that's been a healthy increase. And I agree with you. I'm good with Luka because I have his blue Contenders Optic rookie auto numbered to 99. So when he got traded to the Lakers, I'm like, wow, that's such a gift to me.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
So I love where I am at with what I have with Luka. But yeah, I think some of his cards are, I guess it's a little bit different with SGA because I think his ceiling, because he was so much lower, there's more room to go up. Right. So there's less room for that with Doncic cards. For sure. So have realistic expectations. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would say Shea is the better value.
Yes.
But like I said, it's Luka, right?
It's
you might have to
more
buy
of a
high.
lock.
Yeah.
More of a lock in the hobby, at least. Yeah. All right. Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. So much younger guy. He had that pedigree of being a top prospect. Detroit didn't play well. Obviously, the reason why the Pistons got him because the team sucked. Now they're 17-5. Now, and Cade Cunningham has even shown potential the last couple seasons that he's been in, and he's still continuing that. So he's living up to his hype now. Are you buying into it, or is it what was the best time even last season when the Pistons weren't that great?
I think,
or 2 years ago.
Obviously, the best time was a couple years ago when Cade's prices just absolutely crashed. You had the rookie hype, and then it's not that he didn't pan out. It's just everybody expects these guys to score 30 a night from the get-go, and you look at everybody's development in basketball. It takes you a few years to kind of get into your groove and really understand the game at the highest level. So I kind of see with Cade Cunningham opportunity that we seen with SGA a few years ago. So I could see Cade Cunningham next year as he develops. He could be a 30-point per game scorer. And you look at the similar trajectory of SGA. This was SGA, a few years ago. SGA, when he entered the league as a 20, 21-year-old, he was averaging, 20 points a game. You've seen kind of his flaws and what he had to do in order for him to, solidify as kind of like an A-type player in the league. And I see that with Cade Cunningham, to be honest. I think there's opportunity to buy because his prices were so low. And the upside you have with Cade is, one, Detroit's winning. So that's a huge sign of, what type of player you're getting in Cade. And if he starts averaging 30 plus points a game, I think you have a good marriage of value and, the type of player Cade Cunningham, projects to be. So I would say we're 2 years ago with Shea, we're 2 years now with Cade. So it might be a pretty good opportunity.
Yeah. And I think there's one of those cases where, following sports news can be helpful because a lot of players speak highly of Cade Cunningham, even when he was play for a crappy team. He just saw the work ethic and, like you said, it takes an adjustment. So you want to have those athletes, if you're investing in a card or even a player that has that work ethic and can adjust accordingly, because you hear all the time with other players when you get into the league at the NBA level. I'm sure Cooper Flag is adjusting, but the players are just stronger and tougher, right. And versus their college years. And you could relate with baseball. The game is just levels ahead faster and much more difficult. We had lunch with Denzel Clark a couple weeks ago, and he was saying how 100 miles per hour is, you have to get used to it at the MLB level. And, you don't see it all the time at the minor league level, but even more than that, you don't see 100 miles per hour consistently in the strike where the pitchers want it. Right. It could be anywhere. The consistency is lacking more so in the minor league level, where major league level, the pitchers are there for a reason because they're the top of their league, right? So you want to have players where that player he'll adjust eventually, right. and if there's a dip in the card market, that's the perfect time to buy.
For sure.
All right, so Cade Cunningham's number 4. I got one more before we go to our next segment. And we don't know much about football, but I thought it would be interesting to discuss. Drake May. So the New England Patriots, they came into the season, I listened to Bill Simmons' podcast. Some people were high on the Patriots, although they had a miserable season last year. Others didn't know what to expect. The Patriots are killing it. Drake May, obviously, being the quarterback has a lot to do with it. And so it's not unpredictable that we saw, this trend right now of his card prices increasing at for the Silver Prism, for example, since the beginning of the season, it's up 50%, right?
What value is it at?
The PSA 10 was at 1,000. Okay. And now it's, what is this? I can't see it well. 12, 14, just 1,500 around there. Yeah. So Drake May is interesting, and we've seen it in football. We're not football guys per se, but we've seen the football market, for the past 5 years. And like I said, short term, I think there's opportunity just because, that's what we expect with the hype. Mac Jones was a perfect example of, the previous flip that went wrong. Everybody bought in, super high. And this with everybody. You look at Trey Lance, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, and they've all had great highlights to their career, their young career already. But look at the card prices. Look at what's happened. Use that data as, intel, extrapolated intel that you could kind of mimic the same characters of what happened with Mac Jones, what happened with all these guys. Is there opportunity? Absolutely. Like with everything, it's you see a card that is undervalued and, the hype is there, then that's where you're going to play. But if you're looking in long term, I think you need to look at the market as a whole and kind of see where it's at before making a commitment to say, Drake May's the next, Tom Brady, because we've seen it happen every single year with every single quarterback. It's the same story. And I would personally, I'm not in football, but I'm not in the short game flip either. So I'm out. Man, this is boring because we agree on all these players. we're see the potential in all four, but football for sure. The volatility, the risk is just so much higher in football, right? So, a lot of the profits, short-term profits, is you have to really guess on some of these QBs even before they do anything on the field, and that's so risky, right? Like Bryce Young, for example. A lot of, especially as quarterbacks, there's so much hype on pretty much every top 5 quarterback that gets drafted.
Yeah,
but it's rare that all of them do well or get to the expectations, right, that people expect of them. And Drake May is doing well, but yeah, I think what the graph shows me now is that you're kind of a little bit late, and it might go up a little bit more, but if you're thinking that it's going to double, go from 50% to 100%, I don't know if that's likely, especially with a card like Silver Prism.
And another thing to note, Clark, you got to remember, guys that have come with enormous hype. And I'll use a perfect example, Cal Raleigh. And to me, it's like, and I'm a holder of Cal Raleigh cards that I'm trying to get graded ASAP. But here's the realities of it. People weren't on Cal Raleigh before, so they weren't submitting his cards. So it's the same thing. It's like, how many Drake May Prisms are out there, silver? It might be rare right now, but once people see the price and they start flooding it with PSA submissions, this is where market, prices are not as accurate as you think, because, and you see it with Cooper Flag base, the Topps flagship base, $600-$700. We all know where this is going, right? We all know that there's no way that prices can hold themselves at $700 for a base Topps Cooper Flag. And to me, it's like, what do you think I did when I seen that price? I got all my Cooper Flag base cards, getting ready for submission, and so is everybody else.
Right.
And it floods the market, right? And then you have a crash in terms of, what real price action is, because, when we're seeing that data of that Silver Prism of Drake May at $1,000, there were only 100 Silver Prism. I don't know what the count is, but my point is there's going to be a lot more coming in the market. So by the time you actually make the move, the price probably adjusted. So just putting that as a disclaimer.
Yes. I mean, on that note, you got a 5-month window to sell, because that's when everyone else is going to get their PSA grading back.
Yes.
That's the one thing about PSA being backlogged. You got a little bit more time to sell your cards. Yeah. Because when they come flooding back onto the market, you're right. The price is going to decrease.
I'm going to do this, and I'm going to shoot myself in the foot, because I have about 30 base Cal Raleigh cards, ranging from Topps Chrome base to Bowman Chrome base. I know for a fact that people don't even know that they have a Cal Raleigh base Bowman Chrome rookie card. Right. That's actually worth $200 US selling in today's market. Yeah. I know for a fact that no Bowman Chrome other than Shohei Ohtani sells for over $200. So to me, it's that one person, because they're not available yet, right? Yeah. It's supply demand. How many PSA 10s are Bowman Chrome? Maybe under 100. How many are printed? Thousands that haven't been submitted. So I'm just saying, I'm in that boat right now where I'm trying to get all these cards out for submission, right? Because I know that they're going to be a $50 card.
Yes. At the end of the day. All right. Good points. And let us know if you disagree with any of our takes. But I think for the most part, people that are in the hobby for a while would probably agree with where we're at. So anyway, let's go on to our next segment. It's called Quiz Show. All right, since November 2025 is now in the books, as usual, we have data from gemrate.com about November grading numbers. So this quiz show is all based on this past month's grading data. All right, so I got 4 questions for you. The first one, pretty standard. If you had to rank the top 5 grading companies, and I'm including Tag now because GemRate is including Tag, in order, if I'm asking you to rank them in order of the total number of grades in November from the most to the least, how would you rank them?
I would have to I guess who are the 5 players? It would be PSA as number 1, has to be, and then
Yep.
What's is it CGC or
Yep. CGC
as
is
number
one of
2?
them.
I'm saying number 2,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna say
Then you have Beckett, Tag, and SGC.
yeah. Damn, is Tag number 3, which is pretty crazy. I would say Tag, SGC, Beckett.
Ooh, wow. No respect for Beckett anymore.
Yo, I'm telling you, man, Beckett is. No, I'm not saying it. I really like the Beckett brand. Like, I think there's so much upside with the Beckett brand. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, there is hope for Beckett because the rank is PSA number 1, CGC number 2. You got that. Beckett's number 3.
Oh,
nice. This past month. Tag is number 4, and SGC dropping to the bottom. So that
makes
SG
sense.
Street trend continues. Yeah. Beckett year over year is actually up 116%. So, I mean, so if you want raw numbers, total graded for PSA 1.66 million, right, which is up 31% year over year. CGC is in second, 425,000, up 95% year over year, mainly due to TCG cards, of course. Beckett, like I said, up 116% year over year to 74,000, so it got a nice bump. Tag is at 39,000, which is up 203% year over year. So that's a nice growth in 1 year. And then SGC is 35,000.
What is SGC down? I would assume they're the only one down.
Everyone's down month over month, but yes, year over year, they're the only one down. That's my next question. Question number 2, SGC, continues to plummet. No thanks to Collectors Inc., of course, that owns PSA, pretty much killed the brand. How much are they down year over year? Is it 25%, 50%, or around 75%? What would you say?
I would say it's down pretty high, just because I think over the last couple of years before it, so 2023 and 2024, I would say that they were very popular. So I'm saying to catch up to those numbers that they were doing, I would say it has to be a huge retraction from SGC side. I would say over 25%.
So would you say 50% or 75%? Closer to 50 or closer to 75?
How many units did you say they had?
35,000.
I would say over 50%, as crazy as that sounds, because I vaguely remember that it was in the hundreds of thousands, but I could be wrong.
You're not wrong. You're wrong that you didn't go far enough. They're down 72%.
Oh my god.
Year over year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
I mean, does it really matter though? Like let's just
Not really.
think about this. Let's just think about this. No, let's just think. So if Collectors owns both, just volume in general,
right?
Does it matter where if you're growing in one area? Like if let's just say if your bank account, your checkings account was not necessarily growing, but then your other account, your crypto account was going crazy. you could tell which one's which.
It doesn't matter for Collectors Inc. Yeah, you're right, but I think overall it kind of sucks for the hobby for collectors.
It does, you don't want to see that, because I feel like SGC is still a strong brand.
Yeah,
they have a rich history. I mean, the slabs weren't the prettiest, even the vintage side, but like they have a lot of big vintage cards, right? So to me, it's like you gotta go with that history and keep that brand strong. But they've been literally making it such a bottom of the barrel grading brand.
I mean, I'm sure at some point PSA is going to offer special deals for SGC vintage holders. Crack and submit for free, and then we'll put in a PSA slab for you.
Jeez.
That's,
You think they would go down that route where they're just going to totally dismantle the SGC brand and then convert everything to PSA?
I think there's a non-zero chance. Yes. It's sad for me anyways. And Will kind of went on a rant. If you didn't hear last week's episode on grading companies, it was great. But I think he is just voicing how a lot of people feel about grading these days.
All right.
All right. 2 more questions. Of the top 4, which grading companies graded more TCG than sports cards?
Oh, out of all the four,
Yeah.
it has to be CGC and Tag or Tag.
That's correct.
It has to be. I would say CGC. See, it could be Tag too, but I would say CGC.
It's kind of a trick question. The answer is all of them graded more TCG cards than sports cards.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
even Beckett, huh?
Even Beckett.
Everybody's going after the black labels. That's why.
So let's see. Total graded TCG for PSA 1.05 million TCG cards.
Crazy.
Versus 605,000 sports cards. CGC definitely by far 374,000 was their bulk, and then 51,000 sports cards. So some sports card collectors are going with CGC. Beckett 39,000 TCG versus 35,000 sports cards. So that's almost 50-50. And Tag 37,000 to 2,000 sports cards for Tag.
It's crazy. And it's funny that you brought this up because in conclusion, the market is growing, and if you exist, you can make money. Right?
100%.
You could maybe provide a mediocre service.
Yep.
And still make money in this hobby because the growth of the company. For instance, Beckett, they doubled their business just from the growth of TCG.
That's true. Yeah.
Crazy.
So, I mean, and I guess the flip side is if TCG ever crashes, then some of these grading companies are going to be in a tough spot too, right? So, yeah, it's interesting to see how the market plays out with TCG and sports cards. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When the market's hot, rises all, what's the phrase? High tide rises all boats, right? So
love it.
That's where we're at. All right, last question for this quiz show segment. Rank the following categories in order from most to the least number of cards graded. So the categories are TCG, baseball, football cards, basketball cards.
Most to least?
Yep.
So, sorry, which one was the first one?
TCG.
TCG. Well, sorry, what are we?
In terms of how many cards have been graded by category. So how many TCG cards, how many baseball cards, how many football cards, how many basketball cards? Yes, for November. For
November. And this all across all grading companies?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, this is tough, but based on the allocation, I would have to say it's probably 60-40 split TCG over sports. Or is it 50-50 with all sports?
I mean, even don't put sports all together, just individually. So
yeah, so I'm trying to get the breakdown of kind of like what is the sports allocation of grading total. So let's just say it was 50% total of all sports compared to 50% of TCG, and a total of how many cards? You mentioned PSA was at like 1.66 million. So collectively, 2 million cards were graded. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Just with PSA CGC alone.
So I would
2 million.
I would say you're looking at like 250,000 baseball cards. I would say 100,000 football. I would say 150,000 basketball, and then 500,000 or the remaining TCG.
TCG. You got it. TCG
Really?
Definitely number one.
Okay.
Baseball's number two. Football's number three. Basketball's last and number four. Not last, but number four out of these four.
Do you have totals though?
Yeah. So let me see. The basketball or the TCG. So they break it down by category.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, you're going with PSA mostly because that's the
right.
Has a heavy influence in all the total numbers, anyways, right?
Right.
But if you look at just PSA alone, like I said, 1.06 or so million. Yes, about 1.05 million TCG cards, right? For PSA. 208,000 for baseball.
I wasn't far off.
Just PSA. Yeah. 155 $155,000 for football and $154,000 for basketball. So
I
football and
wasn't too far
basketball are
off.
pretty much size. So that's pretty good.
Wow.
All right, those are your grading numbers for November. We'll see how the year ends out for December. In a month, we'll do another segment like this for a future episode. All right, let's finish off with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. Hyung, you want to start things off for us?
Sure thing. So I'm a big believer in Barry Bonds. I've always said he's the greatest. Player is debatable. Hitter, I don't think it's debatable.
Mm-hmm.
I think his prices were always cheap, and I still think his Topps Tiffany PSA 10 is cheap, or at least it's climbing up. That's what I'm noticing. But I've always said, if I'm buying a Grail card, 1986 Topps Tiffany PSA 10, Barry Bonds would be one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen it. We've been saying that it was a buy at $5,000. We've seen it as low as $4,000 or whatever it was. It's recently sold multiple times, one for $13 on eBay in the last week and a half, one for $10.5. And then another best offer was accepted yesterday, and I don't have that amount, but it's somewhere between 10 and 15K total. And we've seen a massive, jump on these prices, but I really like this card because if you were to say what's Barry Bonds' number one card, what would it be? It would be this Topps Tiffany, right?
Tiffany. Yep.
So to me, it's a grail. And if I was a buyer spending $10,000, I'd be very interested in this card. So I'm going to pair that up, all right, with your boy, Shohei Ohtani. Okay?
Okay. I thought you were going to say Rafael Devers for a sec, but okay.
That's like DC's Nick Matan. Devers gets no love, especially after what happened last year.
Yeah. Okay, Ohtani.
Ohtani, 2018 Bowman Chrome, blue refractor.
Okay.
PSA 9.
Non-auto.
Non-auto. PSA 9.
Ooh, okay.
Sold for just over $10,000. $10,000. Where are you putting your money?
Ooh. That's a good one. I personally, I know what I would do. Okay. I don't know if it's the right choice, but personally, I would go for the Barry Bonds. Just because it's the pop count is, it's lower for the blue because it's numbered to 150, but Ohtani cards overall, there's so many more Ohtani cards that I would actually rather have than the blue non-auto, at that price point too, right? So, or I would want to save up another 10K to buy an autograph version of another Ohtani card.
Right.
With Barry Bonds, it's just, like you were saying, it's just the rookie card that you want. I'm a believer in Barry Bonds as well. I think he'll eventually get into the Hall. And I just looked at the pop count, 454 for PSA 10.
That's pretty low.
It's low enough. Yes. So for all those reasons, I would personally go Barry Bonds, but I can understand people going with the Ohtani PSA 9 blue because of its scarcity and at that price, a PSA 9, if there's a discount because it's the PSA 9, I'm looking for those grades now. Right. With Ohtani cards, if it's a numbered card, I don't care if it's a PSA 8. If I like it, I think those have value too. So I like both, but for me personally, I would go Barry Bonds.
Nice. Wow, I think I sold Barry Bonds too much at the beginning.
You thought I was going the other way right away.
Well, I was putting that on a platter for you because, it's Ohtani, right? So, but I think that's $50,000 card, to be honest. The
Barry Bonds?
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh.
You look at what's the pop count of Wayne Gretzky PSA 10s?
Which one? The
OPG, maybe.
It's in single digits. Am I wrong about that?
I don't think it's single digits. And even look at maybe MJ's. I don't know what, and that'll give us a better understanding of how rare the PSA 10s are. So maybe.
Yeah, PSA 10 OPG. It's a pop count of 2.
2. Okay, so that's a bad example. So what's a card like a PSA 10 card that has a similar population? Maybe a Derek Jeter, maybe a even MJ. I know there's more MJs than, and by the way, that Wayne Gretzky, what price is that a population to? Millions, right?
Yeah. Last sold price 3.75
right.
million.
So for me, it's like, it's not that rare where it's 2, but I know there are cards in that era that sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars that have, I wouldn't say similar because this is a little higher in pop count, but it's not far off. So I'm not giving the full $100, $200, $300,000 value. I think $50,000 card is reasonable for someone like a Willie Mays, someone like, a Hank Aaron, someone who's listed as the greatest baseball player of all time. And to me, as crazy as it sounds, people who understand WAR, I don't think Ohtani's going to get to Barry Bonds level in WAR. So, and Barry Bonds just did it with hitting. So for me, it's like, that's what you're getting in the long term. Barry Bonds has a higher WAR than A-Rod, higher WAR than Hank Aaron, higher WAR than Willie Mays, and only second probably to Babe Ruth. So therefore, it's a $50,000 card.
I could see the argument. So
yeah,
it is a big number.
With that said, I'm going with the Barry Bonds. Like I think there's so much upside with that card. I always thought that there was upside with that card. The Ohtani market, I don't know. That Bowman Chrome could go down to 5K. We really don't know. But I don't see that Barry Bonds Topps Tiffany card going down again the way it was.
Yeah. I mean, if you believe in the player that much and other people are beginning to see how great Barry Bonds is, I could definitely see it. I was trying to see it. I can't find a good comp now. I might have to do a bit more research. But like if you looked at Michael Jordan, his Fleer PSA 10, obviously that's an iconic card, double iconic. But the pop count is about 340 now, right? Around 340.
Good comp.
So in the hundreds, it's valued at about $250,000. So $250,000. But, you factor in that Fleer, his rookie cards, doubly iconic. But if it's $250,000 for a lesser card, Topps traded Tiffany, but for arguably a GOAT of baseball, yeah, a quarter of that amount, $50,000. I can make that argument too. All right, good one. I'm not going that high for my pick one this year, but or for this episode, but I was thinking, it's Christmas season. You got to spend money on gifts, so maybe not too much on yourself. But you're into the hobby and you still want to buy. So I'm gonna gift myself an Ohtani card. We're speaking of Ohtani. I want to gift myself a nice Ohtani card. So I'm gonna spend $400. All right, $400 on myself. Would you have the 2018 Topps Chrome base rookie auto PSA 10 for $400?
Base rookie, not auto.
Non-auto base rookie. Okay. Yeah. Pop count is almost 15,000 right now. Okay. Or remember the 2024 Topps 50/50 set that came out?
Yeah.
To commemorate the 50/50 season. His Aqua Refractor, which is numbered to 75, his PSA 10 of his home run 32. So it's just a random home run, but it's an Aqua Refractor numbered to 75 is also going for $400 PSA 10.
Ooh, this is a really good one. Because this is where I think if you have $400 and you have a PSA 10 Topps Chrome Ohtani rookie, even though there's 15,000 out there, and I've contributed to a lot of those.
Yeah.
Like it's I would be ecstatic. I would be thrilled as someone, like we're talking $400, like maybe it's for, your PC and you're 20 years old and you're holding on to, I think it's a great card. I think it's a great purchase at $400 because, it's $400. It's not like $4,000 where it's like, will this go down? It's like, right. I think it's a pretty solid card at $400. And me as a general, I would say, collector where I'm not a hobbyist per se, I think I would want the Topps Chrome rookie. Just because it's a rookie PSA 10 of Topps Chrome. The brand is strong. But if I'm looking at the hobbyist perspective, I personally rather have the 50/50. I think it's just a cooler card in general just because, I like Ohtani, and I think Dodgers uniform is great. I think the 50-50 season was spectacular. I think long term there's upside as a numbered Ohtani. I think it will appeal to the serious collectors of Ohtani more than a base where it's super liquid. So I think the price could also hold better than the base as well. Like you could actually get more money out of 47, whereas the base or whatever that was numbered, but the base chrome is also way more liquid. So
yes,
I don't think you're going to get the price volatility from the base as you would get the option to make more money off the 50-50 card. So I'm personally going to go with the 50-50 card, but yeah, I see the argument for the base. I think the base is the better pick in general.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to say much. I think I would be one of those guys that would rather have the base rookie chrome for that price. Like, I'm like, oh, look, when some friends come over, yeah, I got a Topps Chrome rookie card of Shohei Ohtani.
For sure.
I would like to show that off instead of like, here's somewhat random home run number 32. And I mean, if the picture was better, I know you haven't seen it, but it's like him obviously just hit a home run and he's like walking out of the batter's box with the bat by his side. So it wasn't the greatest picture. I guess if you had 50 home runs in that set, not every pitcher is going to be a winner, but the number 32 isn't that great. But it is serial number to 75. It is a PSA 10 and it is a refractor. So it has a nice shiny finish. The card itself looks, it's decent, but I think for me personally, I would just go with the rookie because it is a rookie card and 15,000 pop count, whatever at that point. All right, that concludes this episode of Cards to the Moon. We appreciate you guys, and we'll have a brand new episode for you guys next week. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.